Alright guys, let me introduce you to my two cars. Over here on my right, you see Opare. It's a Tesla Model Y. It's a 2022. It has hardware 3 in it. I have FSD subscribed in it, but so anyway, the FSD level is 12.6.4 because it's hardware 3. Over here, we have Big Ray 1. It's a 2025. I remember it's 25 or 26. Anyway, the Tesla Model 3, it has AI4. It has FSD in it, bought, and that FSD is 14.2.2.4. Okay, so for the reason for introducing you to the two cars together is somebody was nice enough to post on one of my videos saying that they really appreciate that I put in the marks and the time marks and all that, and they said that they wished that there was somebody who could talk about the differences between FSDs and what somebody should do. And of course, as always, the answer is it depends. So I'm going to do an introductory video, and then I'll try to do a video from each car's perspective and what all happens. Alright, so before I get too far into all that, my journey started, so I bought the Model Y. You gotta have an SUV, Ray? Okay, I have an SUV. But I prefer the sedan style, so I prefer the Model 3. And I finally knew some things about what Tesla was, as opposed to when I bought the 2022 Model Y over here. I knew there was something called FSD, I knew that they had Model 3s. So I kind of got interested in buying a Model 3 Performance if I could find it with FSD on it. So finally I found one for sale up in Dallas, bought it. It came with FSD. At first it wasn't really active, but since it was purchased, since it was already on the vehicle, it was bought, we eventually got it updated. Okay, I came along after the OG guys. Okay, there's a group of people, they're OG guys, the original gangster, if you want to call it that. So they had FSD and they're on the leading edge, and I was not on the leading edge, so I had to wait for Tesla to decide that a version of FSD was good enough to release. So anyway, I started out with FSD 11. Sorry, I don't remember the detail of which number, but it was 11. And it was like, well, you could kind of do okay highway driving, but I wouldn't recommend it for driving around town. So it was kind of come and go. Gradually, I got 12 on Grandpa. That was my Model 3 Performance. And, you know, Elon was talking about, oh, this is great. And you're like, it's only a little bit better. It's not that great. It was better, but it wasn't, we weren't to the point, because the discussion was someday we're going to have robotaxis and you're going to be able to drive with FSD without paying attention, or unsupervised as we call it now. So there was all that discussion, and that wasn't reality for me. When we finally got to 13 started getting better, and finally with 14 was getting pretty good, and we're now at the 14.2.2.4, and I typically give grades. So the grade is usually an A-. Was it terrible in any way? No. Was it okay? Yes. Was it perfect? Not quite. Okay, so that's an A-. But there's room in the grade for if it does something like it almost got in a crash, you're putting it down to a D or an F, whatever. So that's how I do my grades. Anyway, so that's a little bit of background about how we got here. I do have early software release on my car set. and I did apply to be part of the lead group of people who get FSD releases. And I do seem to be, I'm ahead of the pack. Okay? But there's still the guys who are out in front of me. So usually right now, if I see somebody getting FSD, like let's just say Dirty Tesla, I see that he got FSD, I know that within a week I'll probably get that release if it's any good. However, there have been some releases where people will complain about it and they don't come out with it. And so you're kind of left, well, I kind of wanted to get the update. Bang. That's how we got to here. Okay? Okay, so let's kind of summarize. Let me start with the Model Y first. Okay, like I said, Model Y has hardware 3 on it. It has FSD 12.6.4. I like to think that it's probably good enough to drive on the highway. I mean, I've had my daughter drive it, and she was kind of like, yeah, this is okay. Now, with Grandpa, I went back in 12. Well, this is 12, isn't it? My daughter would say, like, well, how do I get to do that? And so there were things you can do as workarounds to make FSD do what you want to do, at least to some extent. Okay. So that's kind of where that is. I would say it's okay for driving on highways, divided highways, or limited access highways, like I-35. It's pretty good for that. You can use it to drive around town, but I would stick to faster moving roads, less traffic. If there's much traffic, I don't want to be using this and like city traffic, rush hour or whatever. I wouldn't want to do it. So that's where I'm with that. Is it useful? So if I want to go to Walmart, yeah, sure, use it for going to Walmart. No big deal. However, this is not my daily driver. It's my utility vehicle. I have FSD subscribed because I want to be able to go back and look at that version. Okay? So over here with Big Ray 1. Remember I said something about robo-taxis? One of the things about robo-taxis is they talk about being able to put your car in the fleet. That is, allow Tesla to take over and run as a taxi cab or a robo-taxi. That's the part of the reason why I have this Model 3 with AI4, because that was the base that you need to go to. Now I did think about, well, maybe I should get a Model Y, but I already have a Model Y. Okay, I want a Model 3 for me personally. So that's my deal. All right, so I have driven through rush hour traffic on I-35, although I-35 tends to be rush hour traffic a lot of the time. So I've been through there. I've been various places in the country with it. And this is my daily driver. If money's not an object, this at least is a base. Now I would say if I was getting FSD with if I would buy it today, I would get a Model Y, but I want to keep a Model 3 for me, right? So I would get a Model Y with FSD, and that's what I would go for. Now, it does have to be AI4. Okay? AI4 is the same thing as hardware 4. Just they start calling it AI because it's artificial intelligence. All right, so there you go. That's the base of what I would say. If money's not the object, get a new one. Get a new car. Get it a Model Y. Right? I mean, I didn't talk about the seating position, right? But it should be pretty obvious as you look at the cars. In the Model Y, you sit up a little bit higher, so it's a little bit easier for people to get into. The Model 3, because it sits lower, you have to kind of scrunch into it if you're almost 6 foot like I am. right? If you're shorter, like 5'5", it won't bother you quite as much, I don't think. Okay. I'm trying to think of what else I might say about this. Okay, so I guess the other part to talk about with FSD 14 is, or FSD 14.2.2.4, we now have the ability to there's a blue button on the screen, you push the blue button, and FSD takes over. And it goes all the way until you're supposed to park. It doesn't always work all the time, but it's pretty good at that. Whereas with FSD 12, no, you have to start driving and then invoke FSD. And you have to take over to park, at least to some extent. But I'll try to run a drive with both cars and try to give you that comparison. Okay, so that's where I'm at. And for the person who asked for that comparison, thank you. That's kind of what you need sometimes, is somebody say, well, it could be helpful if you did this. Okay, so this shouldn't be thought of as the final answer. And the answer always, or the first answer always is, you got to do your own research. But people are asking based upon, well, I don't have the capability to go drive these cars myself. Okay, so we'll go from there. Yes, there'll be at least a drive with each car, and we'll have to talk about doing the summary. But we'll go from there. Okay, onward, upward.